Yo, it's your boy Simon. It's finally happened. They let me off parole. Technically now, I'm a free man. What does it mean to be on parole? What does it mean to be off parole? Well, let's dive into it. Here we go. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. I also stream on twitch.tv/everyonekills. Come on through. Let's kick it. Off of parole. What does that exactly mean? What is parole? People ask me this all the time. People get this big misconception that parole is the same thing as probation. Now, those are two different entities. Parole is something that you get once you finish your prison sentence, and that's a supervised release. So they're on you to make sure that you don't do drugs, make sure you don't catch cases, and if you do, you're going to do that remainder time that you have left on parole in prison automatically, no questions asked. Now, probation, on the other hand, probation is something that you get usually instead of prison. So it's a punishment aside from getting locked up. Probation is a lot more strict. There's a lot more checking in. Parole tends to be a little bit more lax. Now, that all depends on what kind of parole officer you get. I've seen guys that got parole officers that wouldn't stop hounding them. I'm talking about coming to the door at 3 a.m., knocking and banging for a piss test. I've actually had that happen a couple times. I've had, I think, about 6 to 8 parole officers throughout my whole parole stay. And my parole lasted a year and a half. Actually a tiny bit longer just because of the whole epidemic and everything that's happening in the world today. So, technically, I had 3 years of parole to do. But with good behavior, they actually let you off at the 50% mark. So, I made sure I stayed out of the way. I did everything I needed to. I got a job. I started doing YouTube. I started doing my Twitch channel. And I really try to refocus my life and better myself and maybe teach some people along the way of what prison is all about and reasons, although you don't really need any, to stay out of prison. So, parole. It started out, I remember my first day when I got out of prison. I had a 72-hour lockdown. So imagine doing 8.5 years and then they tell you that you got to stay home for 3 days. Those 3 days felt like an eternity. But after being locked up for so long and then getting the taste of internet again, being with my family, it really helped me substantially, mentally, and just overall as a person. Now, parole, they usually give you stipulations. Every single case has unique stipulations. Because I had an aggravated DUI, which is a class 2, they gave me substance abuse classes, DUI classes. They gave me, I needed to do a evaluation, which means whether or not I am high risk to reoffend or high risk to basically relapse. Now, I never did drugs before. Once my PO finally came after those 3 days, he was a cool guy. My first parole officer was stand-up dude. He told me what I needed to do, and he said, all right, brother, I'll see you in a couple weeks. So he told me what to expect. He told me what I needed to do, and I made sure I got it done. I made sure I prioritized everything that the parole office told me to do and get it done just so, because I heard that in prison, if you give them the bad impression off the bat, they're going to hound you. I remember going to my first substance abuse class. And what it was is essentially they had to evaluate me to determine whether or not I had any drug issues. Now, I had no priors before prison. I had no reason to have them think that I had any drug issues, but that's just protocol. And I remember going there. And now keep this in mind. In prison, I took substance abuse classes. I took DUI, AA, SA, which is Alcohol Anonymous. I took everything under the sun. So I go there and I tell them this. And they said, oh, none of that actually counts because it's not certified. And I told them, wait a second, the people in prison, the instructors, etc., they told me that once you give them these certificates of authenticity, once you tell them that you did this in prison, you should be good. It was all a lie. It was all a lie. This is all a big money scam. All they want is to get some kind of money out of you. Not to mention, they made me pay restitution on top of doing the time, not to the families, nobody, to the state. Not only restitution, but I had to pay for these classes, and these classes were expensive. For the DUI, the evaluation, and the substance abuse classes, that stuff ran about $4,000. So imagine not having a job, imagine getting out fresh, How are you supposed to pay for that? Now, that's a big reason why recidivism in my state, Illinois, is so high, because they pile up all these just debts onto all these inmates that have no means of getting the money. So it doesn't really make sense. Instead of uplifting somebody and trying to make them succeed and reintegrate in society, they do the opposite. They make sure you fail. They make sure you have issues getting everything that you need to get done. And it's a crying shame. Something's got to change with that. So once I got everything out of the way, once I completed all my classes, all that stuff took about roughly 6 to 8 months. And at this point, I was about 4 parole officers deep. Now, each one was a special, different personality. I had guys that were on me. I'm talking about would drive to my work, make sure I was in there. And it was easy. It was easy. As long as you dropped clean, didn't have any drugs in your system, they left you alone. So after the parole proceeded, I remember after I completed everything, they told me that, okay, now you just got to wait. Now you got to wait the allotted time. Once you finish your halfway mark, we're going to let you off. And sure enough, although it was a little bit delayed, they let me off. Now, what does being off of parole actually mean? Well, all it really means is that you don't check in. Checking in is essentially you contact the parole office. You make sure you tell them where you're staying. You make sure you tell them the phone number that you're calling off of. You tell them what kind of job you have at that time. And you tell them whether or not you've committed any other crimes. They actually ask you this on the phone. Have you committed any other crimes or have been caught of anything illegal within the last time that you talked to the parole office? I wonder if anybody's actually pressed yes. That would be funny. So anyways, I get off parole. Now, I don't have anybody hounding me. I don't have to worry about checking in. I don't have to worry about 3 to 4 POs barging in at 3 a.m., searching my room, and it's a blessing. But what finishing parole doesn't give you, it doesn't give you your rights back. Once you're a felon, your rights are taken away from you for the rest of your life. In my state, I cannot vote for president. I cannot own a firearm, even though my case was never regarded as violent, nor did it have anything to do with firearms themselves. Now, I get it that certain cases should take that into account, but maybe it should be a case-by-case basis. Now, before you say you can get your case expunged, you can get it, under wraps and you get your rights back, that's false. By having a Class 2 felony, it's going to be on the record for the rest of your life. Now, I'm not trying to cry about it. I'm not trying to whine about it. I'm just educating you guys. So essentially, because I have this class felony, the only possible way to get it off my record and get my rights instilled is to get a pardon from either a president or a mayor. Now, you're better off winning the lottery 3 times over than getting any type of pardons, getting any type of leniency from any officials, let alone the state. Another stipulation of parole also means you cannot leave the state. If you cross the state border to any state, any direction, you are going to get locked up. It's called absconder. When you go absconder, it means you're not in the place you were supposed to be and you're breaking the law. So not only that, you cannot leave the country, and if you choose to do so, they're going to come and get you. They're going to find you. And they're going to pile on more time. So it's basically like escaping from prison. So, long story short, I made sure I stayed out of trouble. But it's not as easy as it seemed. When the odds are stacked against you, when you see 89% of people going back because either they cannot succeed on parole, they can't get a job, they can't stay sober because the prisons don't offer them any programs for their issues, for the drug abuse. Right now, you could Google the recidivism rate in the nation. It's over 50%. In my state alone, it's 89%. So does parole actually supervise, or does it punish more than it helps? In my opinion, parole stipulations, restitutions, people's restitutions should be the time that they spend in prison, not being hounded for money when they don't have a job when they get out. Otherwise, you're going to lose your freedom. That's not freedom. That's horrible. That's not treating people as human beings. You're like cattle. Unless you meet your quota, you're gonna get X'd. If you found this video educational, if you have any questions, hit the comments down below, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It means a lot to the channel. Also, I stream on twitch.tv/everyonekills. Come on through every single night, ask questions. I'm always there. And until next time, be good, stay safe. Nothing but love here. Peace.